Hey, what up, y'all? Welcome back. Ray here, Grayze Dynamics. Thank you for tuning in. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to RJ for sending this over. He's been nice enough to send me quite a few wheels to review. It's always wonderful when people like you are willing to share your items with me. So I'm incredibly thankful, and I want to say thank you to him first and foremost. Thank you guys for tuning in to another wheel review, another product that I think many of you are considering. A lot of you are wondering how well it feels in hand, what are the alternatives, and things like that. I hope to answer some of those questions. But again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to subscribers. Thank you to the members who continue to support me month over month. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So thank you very much. So let's take a look at the Hyper SL from Gomez Sim Industries, or GSI. It is an absolutely well-built, great quality wheel. What it comes with is we're going to go over those features and then we'll get it on the rig and do a little bit of driving. As you can see, I've always got my wonderful wheel stand by my guy Matt at Simulation RS. Check him out. He makes wheel stands for just about any type of QR. As you can see in front of you, this is the Hyper SL. It has your rev lights on the top. It has your your rotary encoders down below, and it has two thumb encoders both here and here. It has just about every feature one could ask for on a wheel. This configuration actually has the 6 paddles, and you will see that I have a spacer on here as well as a SimMagic QR, and I also have the Dan Suzuki QR. This wheel, RJ's wheel, actually is completely custom to be attached to an Asetek wheelbase. So he has a USB-C cable coming out of the back, which then connects to his Asetek QR, so he can run it wireless without using the GX, I believe it's the GX16 on the back. So again, it makes life significantly easier for him, and I was able to attach my Dan Suzuki QR using the USB-C cable. So that made life 10 times easier for me, which as well as it has for him. So again, this is the high-end configuration. It has the additional top paddles here, and these are actually carbon fiber. It has the clutches here as well as the shifters. The wheel is about 1,600 grams as configured. That's not including the QR. It probably is about 2 kilograms now with the QR attached in the spacer. The grips feel really nice in hand. They're nice and soft. They've got kind of a velvety feel to it. It's got this really nice texture on it. The wheel is sturdy and solid, as with every GSI wheel you're ever going to use. It also has an additional funky right here, which I've heard some others say like they wish it had like an analog. For those of you who may want to use a mouse, since it already has 2 funky knobs here, one here and one here. That's a cool, novel idea. I never thought about that, so really good idea. But overall, the wheel, I mean, GSI makes some of the best quality wheels you're going to find on the market. I mean, what they put into the wheel, as you can see, complete aluminum enclosure with the grips. Again, no bend or flex or anything on here that shouldn't be here. I mean, they are made of the utmost quality, and I'd probably say they're the best quality wheels you're going to get on the market when you think of everything that they offer. They've also been around for a bit now, and they can churn out these wheels, these high-end wheels, at pretty high rates. So they're a very successful small to large company now, and that's the path they came, small to large. So this is absolutely amazing and beautiful. We'll go ahead and get this on the rig and we'll talk about it. But again, it's a 300 mil from end to end. And like I said, everything feels good in hand. The shifters shift quite nice. You have your top paddles and shifters. There's no dampening on this. There's no rubber pad. So you can always add a rubber pad to dampen just in case you have an issue with how loud they are. But you can hear here, the clutches have a really nice pull to it. I've used some other clutches and they have no resistance. Having resistance on it to me is absolutely necessary, and I really like that it does. The rotary encoders on the front have really nice detents to it, and you can hear it here. And then thumb. they feel really good in hand. Everything is well within reach as far as where the funky knobs are, as well as, again, like I said, it is a heavy wheel. I'm not going to lie there. Again, when you attach a NRG QR and a 50 mil spacer, it is quite heavy, so you'll want to shave any weight you can if you have something lighter or don't need a spacer at all. It can fit any spacer on here because it's got plenty of width in between. But obviously, if you're going to use an NRG style QR, you're going to have some sort of spacer or open up the wheel, which I have done before and I won't recommend because it just makes things more complicated. And you would need captive screws to do so with an NRG type QR. So again, you've got 5 encoders on the front, 2 thumb encoders, you've got 2 funkies on the right and left, and 1 in the center. So again, let's get this on the rig and take a look, and let's tell you what we think by having a conclusion at the end. One, let's take a look at the GSI SimOS app. I think it's a very great app. It's done really well, and I think if you're a sim wheel maker in 2024, having SimHub integration is great, but having your own app to get through the settings, I think as all of these wheels come out, is absolutely critical because these wheels can do so much more. And if you rely solely on SimHub to do all of the things, if SimHub ever crashes, if SimHub ever stops operating, if they go behind a paywall that some people cannot afford, it really limits the functionality of your wheel. So having an app that can do some of these things to make it a lot easier, I think is beneficial, and GSI has done that, and I give them all the credit because it's a really smart thing. With that being said, I've got the app loaded. You go to the GSI website, you simply download it, you're good to go. It takes a little bit to get installed. It's a very, very good app. So once you get it installed, you'll come down, you'll see all devices, and then from there, you'll see your wheel, which you'll click on. If you click in the device info, you can go ahead and update the wheel. If an update is new, you can go ahead and click on firmware update. It'll tell you that there's a new update. I'm going to skip it for the sake of this video, but you would click on firmware update, click on update. It puts it in DFU mode, which will do. And then once you're in DFU mode, you'll go ahead and flash it. I'm going to cancel and restore the device. Now, in order for me to restore it, I have to actually take it off and pop it back on. And as you guys know, I'm using the Dan Suzuki QR, so it's really easy. I don't have to plug anything in. I already have something connected. So there we go. So now that I've got the wheel and say we've done the update, now you go through the settings. So you have your left and right clutch. Now I have set them to dual combined. I think this is a really easy way. If you don't have a clutch installed, then it won't recognize it. But you can use it as in button modes, launch control, gas and brake, and a dual clutch. So if I was to say, you know what, I need to use them as gas and brake, now I've got them at 100%. Okay. I always use them in dual clutch. You can also set them if you wanted to do something like launch control. And again, depending on which one you wanted to use and whether you want your master clutch to be left or right, you have that ability. Some people will use as buttons, but again, I always use as dual clutch. And it's this very simple, very easy way to control it. You simply pull back and you set which side you want to be the master. For me, I always have my master on the right. People may have it the other way. I think they're wrong, but maybe that's just me. So with that being said, I set it to the right. I have it in dual clutch mode. Depending on the car I'm driving, I usually have my, clutch set at, if I'm racing like an F1 car, I'm going to have it at 65, so this way when I release, now I'm going to slowly release it on the left. It's got good pull on it, so you have that tension and that resistance as you get closer to pulling it up to 100%, which again, I think is absolutely amazing. Next, you can map the encoders and how you want these 5 encoders to operate, whether you want them to operate on push or on release. And then you can also set the pulse width. And that's basically every time you turn it, what's the pulse? How fast do you want it to cycle through? So if you set it, really low, for each pulse, it'll recognize, or you could set it really long because maybe you want to set something, you want to have each detent really count, and you don't want to accidentally turn it too many times and then it registered as 4 clicks or something along that line. You've got your LED brightness, which you can also do in SimHub, but you can also set it to high mode if you really want it to be this bright. I'm going to say no and set it to low. And then the wheel type, I have the Hyper SL. So really intuitive. They've got your settings in here. And again, if you wanted to make some changes, and if there's something that's, you want to try a different firmware, they got things that are coming out. Like, again, a litany of things you can do in the software, of which I think is really intuitive, really well designed, really put together, and nothing short of what I expect with anything from Gomez Sim Industries. If you buy a wheel, if you get into their software, if you buy some gloves, if you buy a QR, whatever it is you invest in from GSI, you're going to get great quality, and this app is nonetheless. So, but now let's do what you actually came here to see. Let's get it on track, and let's run some laps. Hey guys, let's do this real quick. We got it on the rig. You can see the wonderful array of lights. Make sure you install SimHub if you haven't already. I would hope that by this point you have it. If not, install it. Click on the plus symbol, install and add the GSI HYPER SL. I am driving in LMU, so make sure when you're doing this, you get all the profiles correct. You can download a ton of them from GSI, which are absolutely awesome. You can go on their Discord channel and see a ton of them. I could not find a telemetry LED for LMU, so I installed and downloaded the Daniel Newman Racing 312.3 basic profile. He has a ton of stuff that you can get for free, but if you want to support his channel, please do. I think he makes some of the best profiles out there, along with some others, and we'll have a review of that at a later date. But again, go ahead and download SimHub and get that all set up. So we're going to go ahead and exit SimHub and get on track. Let's get driving so we can tell you what we think about how it feels as we run these laps. So first and foremost, grips feel nice. It's a 300 millimeter diameter wheel. It feels differently than some of the butterfly wheels just because of the grip position and how it's shaped. It reminds me quite a bit of my Bavarian SimTech Omega Pro, but the grips on there sit even lower because it's more of a formula style wheel. So depending on how you like your grips to sit and things like that, and the position of where they sit in relation to the wheel, obviously that's a very subjective thing. But again, this wheel is built with the best of quality. I think GSI, when it comes to quality, if you watch their Instagram and you watch their videos, he can throw the wheel out of a window, it'll survive and be perfectly fine for years to come. So I will tell you this, these wheels, as if any American will know this, they're built for tough. Like, they are army strong, that's to say the least. They will last a lifetime based on, like, you can put your wheelbase up to 200 Newton meters if you had one, and it would survive it all. I will say the wheel is a little heavy, so if you're rocking an 8 Newton meter wheelbase, you'll want to consider that when buying, high-end wheels. I mean, at the end of the day, you'll want to have, and I would always say, if you're willing to spend 12, 1300 bucks on a wheel, I would probably say invest in a really nice wheelbase at a good price, whether that's the Alpha U, the SimiCube, the VRS. There's so many bases out there that'll work, so I would definitely recommend that. But like I was saying about the wheel, it is built with the highest of quality. The functions on it, it is a high-end wheel, and it comes with every feature you can almost think of. A few that, are probably missing based on some new wheels I've used. But again, this does not lack in almost anything. It's got, this one is the optional upgraded version, as we pointed out, so it has the additional top pedals, which again, feel really nice. It has the basic standard pedals and the clutches, which again, all feel nice in hand. Like, the clutches have a nice pull to it. They have a nice amount of resistance. When you go ahead and pull back on the clutches, the shifters feel nice and clicky. Whether they're strong or light depends on, again, it's all subjective. So, they feel good to me, so I have no complaints. Everything as far as, buttons and where they are in relation to my fingers. And again, I have small to medium sized hands. So for me, I can reach everything here. Granted, you have to kind of position your hands a little differently depending on what button you're trying to push. But again, that's with every wheel you're ever going to use. The buttons have a nice click to it, so I can turn on my pit limiter, I can put on my windshield wipers, and you'll feel it. You'll feel a nice little, click when you push the button, so you'll know that you actually push the button, which is always a good thing. But yes, at the end of the day, it's definitely worth it. 2 funky knobs, right in thumb's reach, and an additional third one down below. Like at the end of the day, I don't know what you'll do with the third one, but hey, you have that as an additional input on the wheel. You've got 5 rotary encoders here that have really nice detents. Of course, you can set the different pulses and how you want them to react on push or release. So again, you have options to make changes in the settings on the GSI app. You've got the 4 thumb encoders, which again operate really nicely. They feel really good. Everything that GSI makes, I do believe they use great quality products overall. They're always going to go above and beyond and spend on good quality. I mean, that's what they've been known to do. So, again, the grips feel really nice. They're soft. They're a little smooth for my taste. I wish they were a little tacky. That's why I am wearing gloves. I do not like to wear gloves. I prefer not to wear them. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's neither here nor there. Everybody has their preference. And I do wish these had a more tacky feel for my benefit. But again, many of you would be like, Ray, I'm not a fan of that. You know, dead skin cells and all. I've heard that mentioned a time or two. So it's like, okay, I get it. You know, everybody just has their own preference. Um, but again, the wheel feels really nice. It's as I lock up the tires. Oh, we survived. We survived. Um, the wheel just feels nice in hand, and I think I could easily tell you, yeah, go out and buy it. But let's get to the conclusion and tell you how we feel, because again, there's very little I have to complain about this wheel. You know, and again, you know, when you spend money on wheels, I just get a little nitpicky at times, just because, well, you know, I've used a ton at this point, and you guys are going to ask me these questions, so hopefully I can provide you with an answer. Hey, what up, y'all? Welcome to the conclusion. So let's conclude this by saying it's a high quality, great build of a GSI wheel. Every GSI wheel you will use will be a great build, and it will be great quality. It'll have tons of features, depending on, again, how much you spend. I do think there are a few things that I think GSI sometimes has so many options. They have so many price points. It can get a little convoluted and confusing. There are so many different wheels that kind of bump you up to the next one. And maybe that's their model, that's their business plan. And it obviously works because, again, I think they're the most premier brand you're going to find out there. The quality is second to none. It has every feature you can ask for. But I feel like this wheel, as configured, is a bit overpriced for what you get compared to some of the competitors that are really starting to flood this market, especially this mid-tier to high end. So this wheel, as configured, again, is about $1,600. It's like $1,500 and like $60. When you add the spacer and the QR on, depending on where you get them from and which one you're using, it'll definitely bump this wheel up to and over $1,600. So then you have to ask yourself, for $1,600, is there something else I could get? And right in their own lineup is the Hyper P1 for $1,600 some odd dollars. And you can get a screen on it with almost every feature you have on here. Obviously, you're going to have to go without the additional paddles and the carbon fiber, because that does bump it up well over $1,800, $1,900. So then you're going to have to decide what you want to do. With that being said, a couple things that I really didn't like, and not really things that aren't great, they just pet peeves. At this price point, it's more pet peeves because it's a high quality wheel. So one I will say is the shifters being here, they seem a little out of alignment. They're much higher. I wish they were brought down a little bit. Having a larger paddle definitely means that this had to be placed higher. And I think it'd be better if it was lower, so that you were flicking here. You can still flick your shifters, but I think the configuration of how this is lined up could be a little bit better. I think ergonomically it's just not the best being up so high. But again, that's semantics. Again, if you have bigger hands, it may be great for you. But I'm holding it here, I'm shifting here, I'm reaching up here to grab these. If I'm grabbing the top part of the paddle or the part that flares out, I can grab it down below, but then you're running into flicking here as well. So again, that is neither here nor there. Again, the grips are amazing. They're really good grips. Like, I mean, and I say amazing, and I know I'm not going to say that lightly. I think the only thing I would prefer if they weren't as smooth. The texture on it feels great. But again, your hand can sort of move. But most of you are going to likely wear gloves. I just don't prefer them. They feel great in hand. They're soft. They contour perfectly to your thumbs. You're not going to rub any of the metal on the inside. So it does feel good. It's just, again, I prefer the a little tackier feeling than but it feels like a velvety smooth type of a grip. So again, that's just a pet peeve of mine. One of the things that somebody had mentioned, I think we pointed out earlier, it'd be cool if this was an analog as opposed to just a funky, because you have two funkies here. I do know some people were saying that they would love to have an analog one so they can use it as a mouse to navigate around their computer in menus and things like that. That actually is a good idea. If you're going to add three of them, then this one could be an analog as opposed to just being identical funkies, and you can use it as a mouse on your screen. So again, I think that's great. I think the cool thing is they customized this for RJ, again, whose wheel this belongs to, so that he can run his Asetek QR. But I think brands, when they build wheels in the future, should have an opening in the back because, as you guys know, I use the Dan Suzuki QR. Just so happens he works at GSI. I think the opening should always be open in the back and the 4-pin should be exposed, similar to my Bavarian SimTech wheels or some other wheels that have really cool configurations where they've given you access to a 4-pin so that you can use both the cable and the 4-pin connector. You don't have to disconnect one to use the other. I think as we move forward in 2024 in sim racing, there has to be that option. So I would hope that GSI and other manufacturers make it so that you have access to both. I can plug it in, but if I'm running something unique, something special, something different, I have access to a 4-pin so I can use either or. Just don't connect them both at the same time, obviously. The buttons feel great. The thumb encoders feel great. The funky knobs feel great. Everything is just high end. It's high quality. It feels absolutely amazing. The last thing I'll say is the wheel can be quite heavy. So if you have a stronger wheelbase, make sure you might turn it up just a little bit because GSI wheels are built for tough. As I like to say, they're built in Texas. Like these are high quality wheels and they're bigger wheels than some of the other wheels you might get out there, just the form factor. So if you're buying this kind of wheel, I would hope that you have a wheelbase that's at least 15 Newton meters or more, just to compensate for the slight increase in weight. And again, it's not extremely heavier than some other wheels, but any wheel that's going to be in the 2 kilograms range once you add spacers and QRs and things like that, you're definitely gonna go ahead and add more Newton meters. So make sure your base is running at least 15. Maybe turn it up 1 or 2 when you run a wheel from GSI, especially if you run the Hyper P1. It can be a pretty heavy wheel. But overall, great wheel. I would recommend this to anybody. I'd tell you to go out and purchase it. Like I said, my other gripe is really just, again, at $1,600, you can get a lot of wheel from a lot of different people, even within GSI. You have the Formula Pro Elite V2, which has a screen. If you don't need top paddles, you don't need the extra funky knob, or you don't need the extra 2 thumb encoders up here, then the FPE V2, I would go that route because you get a little bit more in having the screen and you get all the functions you need. Or the Hyper P1. I know it sits in between both, but I really think that this totally specced out and customized puts you right in the price point of the Hyper P1. I would just get the Hyper P1, but that's up to you. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. You enjoy my content. You enjoy what I bring to the table. If you do, please subscribe to the channel. One, thumbs up. Thank you. Let the algorithm know that you appreciate me. And of course, turn notifications on so you see all the new stuff that's coming. As always, thanks for tuning in. Thank you very much, members and followers and Twitch followers and all those people who subscribe to my channel and those who decided to donate and pay me a little for it. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. As always, I will talk to you later. Stay safe out there and race fast. Peace.